Hi, I'm Teresa Shecker, and again, I plan to do my research on the Siege of Vicksburg, and after talking to Dr. Waldron, I have further narrowed down my topic to the effects on children during or after the Siege of Vicksburg, depending upon the amount of research available. And doing research from the JSTOR database this week, I hope to learn more about the siege itself. And with Grant at Vicksburg from the Civil War Diary of Captain Charles E. Wilcox, Erickson highlights the diary of Wilcox, who was a former teacher who enlisted into the 33rd Infantry of Volunteers as a Confederate. Wilcox kept a detailed diary, giving an account of the daily activities of the 47-day siege at Vicksburg and how the Union increased the shelling and moved closer and closer into the city as the siege went on. This happened as soon as 10 days into the siege. They were literally bombing full out into the city, targeting civilian homes. The civilian targeting included non-combatant targets and hospitals and included livestock. As in other references I have read, livestock were intentionally targeted to starve the civilians, including children, in a harsh war tactic. In collateral casualties, death of civilians, Wills demonstrates the damage done to Vicksburg and other areas in civilian life. He recounts numerous tales of children and others taken before their time due to the casualties of war. In order to move into Vicksburg, surrounding cities had to be taken. One of these cities is called Holly Springs, Mississippi. This is not far from where I live. It's also not far from Vicksburg, in which a Union general recounted the saddest story, what he called the saddest story he had ever recounted, in which a man named Rube Williams and the quartermaster of the post stepped out onto the porch because they heard a big commotion. Followed by them was a little girl, unfortunately. Upon looking down to feel her hand upon his coat, he felt her tug become harder. He didn't realize why until he realized that she had been struck in the forehead by a bullet, and the tug on his coat became harder because she fell over dead. This was the saddest incident because he then had to go inside and tell her mom what had happened. In another incident in Vicksburg, a mother and a child had come to visit their soldier at the Confederate front. When artillery fire rained down on them, not knowing the terrain, they ran for cover into the brush of the woods, fell into a ravine, and drowned. In another harrowing story, a nurse, her name was Patience Gamble. She was attempting to help after the bombing, was walking home that day, and a large shell fell on her and decapitated her. This happened in front of her child. A few weeks later, her child died from shock, from watching her mother die in such a brutal way. And an unknown number of civilians, including children, died from Union shelling at a funeral. A baby died in one of the dugout caves when a shell fell on top of the cave and literally crushed it in. The child was suffocated inside the cave. An African-American child died from an unexploded ordnance. He thought he was playing with a ball, and the shell exploded on him and literally killed him. Another boy in his teens died when bringing water to his family. He was just bringing water back from the river to his family, and a sharpshooter shot him. And this is just some of the known stories of what happened to children. In Broken County Union campaigns at and around Vicksburg in 1863, Brady displays Grant's strategy regarding Vicksburg and the surrounding area, including the policy known as chevauchée, which was meant to introduce the horrors of war to the civilian population while taking away the improvements made to the land to decrease Confederate success and improve the Union with supplies. So this policy literally let the Union take any improvements that were made to the land, including anything that was planted, anything that was on the land. So they could take your horse, they could take your cow, they could take anything that was planted there, corn, wheat, didn't matter, to take it away from you and give it to the Union. So Sherman commented also about this area that disease ran rampant. Measles, dysentery, lice, and horrible skin diseases were an epidemic in mid-July 1863, and that he saw dead animals lying unburied, acres of hospital tents, almost all flying the yellow quarantine flag, which meant that yellow fever was running rampant. Yet Pemberton, who was on the Confederate side, said he would not surrender. The suffering of the people, including children, regardless of their affiliation with the Confederacy, continued for 47 days.